Only 1% of people carry it. You can feel it when they walk into a room. Not loud, not flashy, but something deep in you sits up and listens. It's not charisma, not charm, it's presence. A kind of stillness that bends the noise of the world around it. A silent gravity that can't be faked. This is the aura of a trained mind, and it's rarer than most think. In this video, we'll explore a side of self-mastery most people never touch. Not motivation, not mindset hacks, but the core discipline of Shaolin training, focused attention. Where your awareness goes, your life follows. And most people, their attention is scattered, hijacked by distraction, drowned by emotion, trapped in endless thought. We will go to the root. You will learn why the Shaolin path begins not with movement, but with stillness. How ancient monks trained their minds before their bodies. Why silence was the first skill. And how inner control creates an outer energy that can be felt without words, without effort. I'll also share with you stories rarely spoken. How a novice monk was tested for weeks, not by combat, but by how long he could sit without moving. Why one master refused to teach a student for 5 years until the student could hold eye contact without losing presence. These are not just stories, they're keys. Stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll understand why only a few people ever reach this level and how you can start walking the path today. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If you're ready to grow, not just in strength, but in spirit, subscribe now. Your journey begins here. Discipline is not a cage, it's a compass. Many people mistake control for suppression. They think discipline means forcing themselves through life, grinding, ignoring their emotions, tightening the jaw and pushing forward. That is not the Shaolin way. Real discipline is alignment. It means knowing what you value and acting from it even when your mood pulls you elsewhere. It means doing what is right, not what is easy, not what feels good in the moment. This is not punishment, it is power. The power to remain steady while others swing between extremes. When I train a student, I do not watch how they perform when they feel strong. I watch how they move when they are tired. I observe how they hold their posture after failing 10 times. I look for consistency, not just skill. Because consistency reveals truth. It shows you who they are when the surface is stripped away. Shaolin teaches us to live by principle, not by preference. Moods are weather. They come and go, but your path must stay clear. And every time you choose principle over mood, your spirit grows more steady. You stop being pulled in 100 directions. You start walking straight. This is why we train daily. Not for perfection, not for achievement, but to remember, the way is already inside you. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about removing what distracts you from who you are. The student who moves in harmony with his values quietly every day builds a resilience stronger than any armor, not stiff, not hard, but flexible, rooted and awake. A discipline that does not break under pressure. It bends, flows, and returns to center. That is true Shaolin discipline, not force, choice. Most people only notice imbalance when it becomes pain, when the body aches, when the mind spirals, when emotions erupt. But by then, it's already late. The Shaolin path teaches you to see more quietly, more deeply. Before the storm, there is always a shift, a tension in the shoulders, a restlessness in the breath, a reaction that rises too fast. These are signals, not problems, just signs that something inside is out of rhythm. The body doesn't lie, it reflects the mind. And the mind, if watched closely, reveals the emotions behind it. This is why form matters in Shaolin. The way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you move, it tells the truth. A shaky kick means more than poor balance. It can show fear. A collapsed spine can speak of doubt. We don't fix it with willpower, we realign. Balance does not mean staying still. It means knowing how to return. When you drift, you notice. When you notice, you adjust. No panic, no judgment, just presence. Discipline here is not about pushing harder, it's about listening better. The deeper you listen, the faster you catch the misalignment, and the quicker you return to center. Some think mastery looks like perfection. In truth, mastery is constant correction. A small tilt here, a shift there, again and again. Just like nature. The tree bends with wind, the river curves around stone, and yet they remain rooted, balanced, alive. This is how a practitioner walks through life, watching the inner weather, adjusting breath, posture, pace, honoring the feedback of the moment, not resisting it. Because when the inner world is balanced, the outer world responds. Form becomes grace, movement becomes meaning, and life, even in chaos, begins to flow. There is a rhythm beneath all true training. Movement, breath, and stillness, woven together like threads in a single fabric. This is the essence of Kung Fu and Qigong. Not performance, not repetition, but presence in every layer of being. When the body moves with intention, it reveals the state of the mind. When breath is calm, the heart becomes steady, and when stillness is honored, awareness sharpens like a blade. These practices are not separate, they mirror the unity we're trying to reclaim within ourselves. In Qigong, even the smallest movement holds meaning. The raising of an arm, the turning of a wrist, the shifting of weight. Every action is slow, deliberate, conscious. There is no rush. The purpose isn't to burn energy, but to build it, to feel the life force stirring beneath the skin, flowing through the body like a quiet river. Kung Fu, in its true form, is no different. It is not just a fight. It is a dialogue with yourself. Each strike, each block, each stance is a question. Are you present? Are you balanced? Are you moving from your center or reacting from fear? This is why ancient masters trained in silence, not to be stoic, but to listen, to feel how the breath supports the body, how the mind influences the breath, how all three body, breath, mind move as one. When they do, something changes. The practice becomes a mirror. It reflects your hidden tensions, your scattered thoughts, your unresolved emotions. But it also shows you your potential, your clarity, your strength, your peace. That's the path, not to master a technique, but to master the self within the technique. Movement becomes meditation, stillness becomes power, and through it you come to know who you truly are. You can spend your whole life chasing and still feel hollow. The world rewards speed, ambition, achievement, but Shaolin wisdom sees the trap in that chase. When presence is lost, even success becomes empty. A goal reached without awareness is like drinking water while dreaming. You never feel quenched. No matter how far you go, the mind keeps moving the finish line. One desire fulfilled gives birth to three more, and so the cycle continues. Shaolin practice teaches you to pause, to sit, to breathe, to return. Mindfulness is not passive. It is a sharp, quiet power. It cuts through the noise and asks, where are you right now? Not what are you doing, not what are you planning, but where is your attention? Are you here fully, or lost in the next task, the next win, the next craving? Meditation deepens this inquiry. It brings you face to face with the root of the chase, the feeling of lack, the fear that you are not enough until you prove something. But here's the truth. Fulfillment was never outside you. It rises naturally when the mind is still, when the breath is steady, when the heart is at peace. The monks do not meditate to escape the world. They meditate to return to it with clarity. They act, they train, they serve, but not from hunger, from wholeness. When presence leads the way, goals lose their grip. You move not from desperation, but from alignment. And in that movement, even the smallest step feels full. This is the shift from chasing to choosing, from noise to silence, from scattered effort to unified intention. Not everything needs to be pursued. Some things come when you stop reaching and start being. There is no true strength without facing what hides in the dark. Discipline, form, breath, these are tools, but they mean little if you use them to avoid your own reflection. The Shaolin path does not just sculpt the body, it exposes the places you fear to look. Fear, anger, envy, they all live within, and unless they are seen, they rule you. A calm face can still hide a storm. A steady stance can still carry resentment. But these energies do not vanish by being ignored. They deepen, they tighten, and when pressure comes, they surface fast and uncontrolled. True mastery begins when you stop pretending, when you sit with your fear instead of running, when you feel your anger without lashing out, when you admit your jealousy and trace its root not in others but in your own sense of lack. This is what ancient masters understood, that light alone cannot guide you. You must also walk through shadow, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Because once seen clearly, these forces lose their grip. Anger becomes fuel, fear becomes focus, envy becomes a mirror, showing you where you've abandoned your own growth. Integration is the key, not cutting yourself into pieces, but bringing them back together, aware, awake, whole. This is why the temple is silent. Not because monks are above emotion, but because they must feel it fully. without distraction, without escape. What rises in the silence is the truth. And when you can meet that truth without flinching, something shifts. You become trustworthy, not just to others but to yourself. Mastery isn't about perfection, it's about wholeness, not hiding your shadows, but walking with them, calm, clear, and unshaken. Kwai is not magic, it is life noticed. In Shaolin tradition, Qigong is the art of feeling what is usually ignored. Breath, blood, tension, intention, all moving through the body in silence. Most people live disconnected from this flow. They eat without tasting, breathe without feeling, move without knowing how or why. Their energy scatters, leaks, fades. Qigong trains you to return, to notice the quiet mechanics of life within you, the warmth in your palms, the rhythm of your breath, the space between thoughts. It's not about belief, it's about perception, refined over time. Kwai is not something you have, it's something you cultivate. Like a flame, it grows when protected, dims when neglected. And just as you train your muscles or sharpen your focus, you can train your energy through posture, through breath, through stillness held with intention. The movements of Qigong are slow for a reason. They open space to listen. A single raise of the arm becomes a lesson in gravity, balance, and inner awareness. You begin to feel how energy gathers when the breath is deep and the mind is still. You begin to guide it, not forcefully, but with calm precision. Shaolin views Qi as the bridge between body and spirit. It is the current that carries intention into action. Without it, strength is mechanical. With it, strength becomes expression fluid, present, alive. This is why ancient masters move like water, yet strike like lightning. Not because of brute force, but because their energy is aligned. They do not waste, they do not rush, they channel. Qigong is not reserved for monks. It belongs to anyone willing to slow down, feel more deeply, and walk the path of awareness. It is inner mastery made visible. One breath, one movement, one moment at a time. Purpose is not something you chase. It's something you return to. The world teaches us to define ourselves by titles, roles, and accomplishments. But these shift, they break, they get taken away. Shaolin wisdom points somewhere deeper, not to what you do, but how you do it. Not to outer achievement, but to inner alignment. A monk may sweep the floor, chop wood, or sit in silence for hours. From the outside, it may look like nothing, but inside, every act is complete. No moment is wasted. There is attention, intention, integrity. That is purpose, not as performance, but as presence. You don't need to be seen to be real. You don't need applause to have meaning. The way you walk, breathe, speak, these carry your essence. If they are aligned with your values, your path is true, even in quiet, even alone. Shaolin life reveals this truth through repetition. The same forms, the same meditations, the same routines over and over. Not to create boredom, but to strip away distraction. When the noise falls away, what remains is clarity. You begin to see what matters. You begin to see yourself. And you realize purpose isn't a goal. It's a state, a way of being that can live in anything. Making tea, tying shoes, holding a door open. If you meet it fully, it becomes sacred. The discipline lies in not forgetting, in staying rooted in that quiet inner compass, even when the world pulls you off course. That's the real work. To be the same in private as you are in public. To let your smallest act speak your deepest truth. No role can give you that. No title can replace it. Purpose lives in how you show up, again and again, with presence, with heart, with honor. At the beginning, the teacher's voice is everything. You listen, you follow, you lean on their discipline when yours falters. This is necessary. Every path starts in guidance. But over time, something shifts. The teacher speaks less. You hear more. Not because the lessons have stopped, but because they've moved inward. Their voice becomes quieter and yours becomes stronger. This is the mark of real training, when external direction turns into inner knowing. In Shaolin practice, students are not taught to depend forever. They're taught to observe themselves, to correct their form without being told, to sense imbalance before it becomes visible. The mirror is no longer on the wall, it's within. And that mirror is honest. Self-mastery isn't about control, it's about clarity. You begin to see your own patterns, where you hesitate, where you rush, where you resist. You see the subtle ways you avoid truth. And instead of looking outward for answers, you turn inward with discipline. This doesn't mean isolation, it means accountability. not the fear of punishment, but the strength to walk with integrity, even when no one is watching. The inner teacher doesn't flatter. It doesn't excuse. It knows when you cut corners. It knows when you give less than you could. And it invites you to step up, not for reward, but because it's who you are. Ancient masters would often say, the true student becomes the part, not just the follower of teachings, but a living expression of them. This is the quiet power of self-mastery. You don't need to be told, you just know. You don't need to prove, you just act. The journey begins with guidance, but it becomes real when the guide steps back and you walk forward steady and awake under your own weight. The path of mastery doesn't ask you to leave the world behind. It asks you to meet it more fully. These teachings, attention, discipline, presence, balance, they aren't confined to monasteries or mountains. They're meant for where you are now, in your conversations, in how you listen, in the way you breathe before speaking, in the way you move through conflict, through stillness, through choice. Shaolin wisdom is not about escaping life. It's about engaging it with clarity, letting each moment be a place of practice, letting your smallest actions reflect your deepest truth. So the next time you feel scattered, return to the breath. The next time emotion surges, watch it without flinching. And when you forget, start again, quietly, patiently. That is the way. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this message spoke to something inside you, support the journey by liking the video and subscribing to Shaolin Soulfire. Until next time, walk steady, stay clear, and keep your spirit strong.